"50 ways to leave your lover" was ringing in my head. 8 months later, still couldn't tell you exactly why I left. But I know that you knew deep down someday the end was coming. Just maybe not that way, and maybe not that summer. Or something about the future and that sweet and sour Brooklyn air had me coming up for breath, wishing I was anywhere but there. Something about my changing country and my changing heart. Something about being 24 and a little doomed from the start. I wanna know you in 20 years. I wanna talk it all over, really good beer. And I wanna find you in your sweet soul and pepper hair somewhere.
I'd like to welcome Kora Feder to this program today. And her last name is pronounced Feder, although it's spelled Feder. Most people would say Feder, but I think I've called you Feder for quite a while until I realized that it's pronounced Feder. But in any event, Cora is just a simply great singer, songwriter. She has a great singer, songwriter heritage because her mom, who I've known, and I think I've interviewed her in the past, Rita Hoskin, is a great folk singer. So, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree in that respect. Cora's a little different though. Her songwriting is different, I think. I think you're an unusual songwriter. You're kind of more free-flowing, free-form lyrics that are just biting and really hit you tremendously. And Cora has many accolades, been at many conferences and performed all around the place. But I'm going to let Cora explain where she came from and how she got into this music field. It's not too hard to understand, being that mom is a folk singer, so to speak, and dad too, right?
Yeah, he's a multi-instrumentalist and also writes songs too. Yeah.
Okay, so talk about your background in growing up.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Great intro. Very nice. I grew up in Davis, California. And my parents are, yeah, very immersed in the Northern California folk music scene, and genres beyond folk as well. My dad is a percussionist, and did that a lot more when I was younger. But yeah, a lot of middle school and high school weekends and spring breaks were spent touring around the West Coast and a little bit East Coast and abroad as well, but playing, little house concerts and folk venues and folk festivals with them, and usually would just run the merch table, but occasionally would also come up on stage and sing harmonies or play violin or clawhammer banjo or whatever I was kind of like enjoying playing at the time. So it was a great introduction to writing and music, and it was never something that they tried to get me to do. It was just like what was happening in the house all the time. So of course I was playing and writing
So,
and just kind of doing what everyone did. Yeah.
and you went to college.
Yeah, I got a global studies degree from a little school called LIU Global, Long Island University Global College, and it's usually about 10 to 15 people per class, and you spend almost every semester abroad in different countries, kind of based out of different international universities. And it was not a music degree, but I did bring a guitar and write songs wherever I was, and so a lot of my early releases are reflections of that time spent abroad. Yeah.
You well, okay, so you graduated college and then you Wow, what did you do right after that? Did you get a regular normal job like the rest of us, or did you go right into singing and performing?
Yeah, music is not a very lucrative career unless you
Right,
are
we know.
beyond the folky, small level, as you know. So, yeah, I lived in New York for a few years right after college and had all sorts of jobs, but I always tried to have like freelance stuff so that I had enough time for music
Mhm.
and for travel and just kind of being a little more free with my time. But yeah, I worked as an airport coordinator for a study abroad group, like shepherding teenagers around JFK airport. I was a nanny. I did worked kind of design, freelance design, graphic design jobs and research jobs and just kind of whatever I could to pay rent in New York and also be able to write songs and produce records and play shows. Yeah.
Now, uh, do you still do that as something to earn money, let's say, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I work now in des kind of honed down all the many freelance things I was doing and realized that the thing that other than music that I can do and enjoy and can make money off of is design. So I still do graphic and user experience design work. But yeah, I also make music and play shows around sometimes. And honestly, I just, like I said before, growing up with music in the house as just like something that everyone did. It's something that I will always do, whether or not I'm out performing. I think I'll always like process my life through songwriting. Um, so it's become less of something that I'm pushing my career forward in a big way, like I was in my early 20s in New York before COVID. Like now, I sort of have, I'm happier to not be pushing super hard on it, but I'm also making records and doing it because it's just like what I like to
Oh,
do.
well, of course, the COVID thing affected all of us, and musicians especially, because nobody was going to clubs to watch people performing.
Yeah.
And I think Lucy Kaplansky wrote one of the most touching songs, Mother's Day, and during the COVID crisis, that just knocks you out of your shoes when you listen to that song. And speaking of knocking you out of your shoes, um, I don't know. The literature says this new album. By the way, I haven't even mentioned the album. The album is called Some Kind of Truth. This is what it looks like. If for the there you go. Thank you for those watching on television. Um, and it says it's your sophomore album, but didn't you have a few things before that? What did you have out there before this album?
Yeah, I don't know what if sophomore is super correct because there was an EP that I put out first that was about 5 songs, which is what I consider my first release. And then there was a that was called Marigolds, and then there was In Sevens, which was a full produced record, and then this is sort of I guess the third full release, but the second, um, produced, bigger than just me and my guitar, and longer than 5 songs, kind of thing.
Okay. Um, we're going to jump back to the song commissions thing. If you go to Kora's website, which by the way is Feder.com, you'll find, amongst other things, lots of tabs, and one of the tabs is teaching, design, and song commissions. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But before we get to that, one of the songs that isn't on this album, but there is a video of it, and I'm going to play that in a second. Uh, it's I can only describe as heart-wrenching song titled Automatic Times. And when you listen to the song, you will, like myself and my wife, be just totally blown away by Cora's art with lyrics. And like I said before, it's not strictly sing-songy type of lyrics. Her lyrics are very freeform and quite beautiful and really hit the nail on the head. Speak about Automatic Times.
Yeah, so I wrote that when I came back to the States after, like I said, living abroad for a few years. And I had kind of trained myself and been trained through my global studies degree to get to a place and read a bunch of academic articles about the culture and the religion and the politics and kind of take it in from a outside perspective and analyze it and compare it to other cultures and just sort of get to know a place. Um, and so I got back to the States and was living in New York and just sort of automatically started doing that to America. And one of the kind of lenses that I was looking at it from was just the news and how many mass shootings and just kind of gun violence news there was and how normal it felt, which is not the case in many countries. And the Parkland shooting happened right around that time too. And so this was just kind of my reflection of being a person in America in a time where that's super normalized. And unfortunately, it's just as relevant today as it was then. And I've updated the lyrics kind of as time has gone on to reflect kind of more recent shootings and names and numbers, as you'll hear in the song.
Yeah, it's amazing that someone has to write a song like this, and it's just an incredible song, and I commend you for writing it and for getting it out there for people to hear.
There are children in hallways, blood on the floor, adults in power are closing the doors. There are crowds in Washington screaming for more, and if you can't hear them, then what are you fighting for? Aid in Miami, aid in Louisville, aid in San Francisco, no word from the Hill. 'Cause mass murder headlines are like photos on your hearth, totally normal, like headlights in the dark. Send those prayers, hope you're not the next to die. We're just living in America in these automatic times. You know, in many places, 50 dead is not an average front page. It happened once in New Zealand, but the government made a change. But America, the beautiful, the brave and the best, America, you are bleeding, darling, don't forget your bulletproof vest. 17 in Parkland, 9 in Jacksonville, 58 in Las Vegas, and no word from the Hill. 'Cause mass murder headlines are like photos on your hearth, totally normal, like headlights in the dark. Send those prayers, hope you're not the next to die. We're just living in America in these automatic times. So all I'm asking for is a place where people feel free, and war weapons on the street just doesn't feel like freedom to me, but especially for the fallen who have died for the color of their skin. America, look in the mirror. When will that freedom kick in? Wendell in New Orleans, Tony in Madison, Martin in Memphis. How many names have there been? 'Cause gun violence headlines are like photos on your hearth, totally normal, like headlights in the dark. Send those prayers, hope you're not the next to die. We're just living in America. We're just living in America. We're just living in America in these automatic times. We keep living in America. We keep living in America. We keep living in America in these automatic times.
Now this new album has what, 9 songs on it, and all of the songs are, as I said, they're just unusual as far as Cora's skill with lyrics and music, and her voice is kind of I don't know. I don't know. You don't get your voice from your mom. I don't think. I think you're really original in that respect, and it kind of pulls at you. Gee, you're quite an artist. And okay, so let's move on here, because if you do go to Cora's website, where you'll be able to find this album, by the way, and download it, I urge you to go to Cora's website to get it. And but aside from this, as Cora said, she does design work and teaching. And what kind of teaching do you do?
Oh, you mean like songwriting
Mhm.
teaching? I don't do much of it. I just have done a little bit of coaching here and there, and have led some songwriting workshops. But it's not like a consistent thing I do. It's just sort of if
But it
someone's
could
interested.
be, it could
Yeah.
turn into something, we don't know. Um, and design, you design websites and things like that.
Yeah, I do freelance projects, sometimes, helping someone design a record or a poster or something. But then, yeah, I primarily do website design, mostly for nonprofits and sort of small organizations.
And you right now you're stationed in New York City. Is that where you're living?
No, I actually live in Detroit, Michigan now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, go to your website, and there is a tab called Song Commissions, and I'll talk about that one. I like this.
Yeah, so I have a lot of my songs are about a specific person in my life or an experience or someone else's life or experience, but they're very like specific and story based. And so I like taking something with a lot of details and information and trying to find a way to make it into an impactful, pretty song. So I had found that people would often like tell me, "Hey, you could write a song about this thing," or like, "I know this person that you could write a song about," and I'm like, "Okay, maybe," but it's I've just sort of turned it into like a commission thing. So if someone is interested in actually commissioning a song, they can pay me and we'll have a conversation and I'll ask a bunch of questions and they'll give me a bunch of information and then I'll write a song and make a YouTube video and a little audio file and send it back to them and we'll kind of work on it together a little bit. My favorite example is one of my dear friends who I lived with in New York. Her parents' 30th wedding anniversary was coming up, and I got a letter from her dad asking me if I could write like a surprise song for her mom for the anniversary. So I got to just kind of get to know him better than I'd ever known. He's really interesting guy, and they had a really long, beautiful story. And so I just sort of turned their story and found themes in it of like walking and sort of pilgrimages, and turned that into a chorus. And then kind of each verse was a different section of their relationship. And I tried to pull in as many details as possible, and kind of surprise them with that. So it's just like it's honestly just fun for me, and a nice way to get to know people and kind of collaborate. And I don't do it that often. I don't do it with just anything, but if it sounds, like it.
So this is Jason's song, right?
No, Jason's song, all the songs on the record are not commissions. These are all songs that I just have written because I wanted to write them. The commission stuff is just sort of a side project.
Well, what about Jason's song then?
Oh yeah. So Jason is, sorry, I just clicked a weird button. Okay, we're good. Jason was a dear family friend of mine and my family's, who I've known my entire life, and was basically an uncle. And he was the kind of person who could pull your deepest, darkest secrets out, like from a stranger after a 5-minute conversation. Like he would go deep quickly, and was just someone who everyone wanted to be close with and friends with. And he would host really wonderful dessert parties and take people on sails in his sailboat that always lasted notoriously long, like way longer than you thought it was going to last. And he loved Joni Mitchell, and we played a lot of Joni Mitchell together in little jams and hootenannies and stuff. And so he was just a big part of a lot of people's lives, not just mine at all. And he passed away in 2022 after a very brief battle with cancer. And this was a song that I wrote because I was processing it and just needed to write something, because that's how I process. And yeah, that's the song.
I was playing a show in the way outskirts of Brooklyn, expecting no one to show but a couple of college friends. You were there in a leather vest, I'd never seen you so well dressed. You made the night special, which is what you did best. I was trying to explain who you were to my lover, and you said, oh, just wait till I tell your family. And before the night was over, you evaporated out the door. You had a way of leaving early. Too soon. We were out in your sailboat around hour 4. You came up from a nap to admire the shore. You had a way of soaking up everything, savoring the details like a full-time living. Someone in a hurry suggested time to go, and you said, have we talked about the weather? They smiled and gave in, they were not gonna win. You had a way of staying out forever. Too soon. And I'm not one to go believing in an afterlife, but it's hard not to dream when someone you love dies. Maybe somewhere in the ether a moose was born today. Hoop earrings and a mustache and a couple things to say. Hoop earrings and a mustache and a few more things to say. But of all the sails and dessert parties and leather vests, there's a moment for me above all the rest. We were out on the porch, you looked me straight in the eye. You said, I've never seen you so happy, and I realized you were right. seem to notice, but you saw everything. You had a way of delivering the punchline, and everything was better when you arrived on the scene. And you'd be there, but in your own time. Too soon. Too soon.
If people do take advantage of the song commissions, would it be something to that effect or not?
Yeah, Jason's song is definitely sounds like it could be a commission song of, if
Okay.
someone were to tell me about Jason, but it just happens to be that I also knew him well, so that was easy for me to write. But yeah, it's this kind of thing for sure. Yeah. I guess if you order a CD or a copy of vinyl of the new record, I will include a lino cut print that I've been enjoying making. I'm a crafter. If I'm not writing songs, I'm doing some other kind of art.
Oh, neat.
So here's one that has fish and jam.
Oh, that's so neat.
So I've been just like sending out other kind of crafts
You do
along
those
with
yourself?
records. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
This one is a dancing moose in honor of kind of Jason's song and some rabbits.
Oh,
Kind of
wow.
random, but I guess yeah. Fun fact about me is that I actually sometimes don't write songs for months and just do other arts and other crafts. So I'm just like I like to be making things. And so if you
Yeah, I
order
hear you.
something, I will send you music and some other fun thing.
So cool. All right then. I think we've covered everything. And like I said, I am just blown away by this new album. The website is korafeder.com, and you can learn a lot about her. There are videos there and so many other things about Kora. And all I could say is I wish you great success with this new album. Once again, the album is titled Some Kind of Truth, and you can find it on Kora's website and on all music sources out there. Just don't download it from Bandcamp because they don't pay the artist anything.
Well, actually, no,
Did I say Bandcamp? I meant Spotify.
yeah, Bandcamp
Bandcamp
is
is
good.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mistake.
Yeah, and you know what? I personally think that if you listen on Spotify or Apple Music, like, that's fine. Just, I'd rather people listen than not. And I'm guilty of that too. But if I love an artist and they're small, I'll try to like buy some merch or something and listen on Spotify because it's easier for me to listen on the streaming services, but I also want to support folks. So no shame to those who want to listen on those places. But yeah, thank you.
Okay.
The world needs more. The world needs more music.
Well, that's absolutely true. Kora Feder, thank you so much for your time, and hope we get to meet one of these days.
Appreciate it, Artie. Thank
Have
you
a
so
great
much.
afternoon. I'll talk to you
You too.
soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
In the sky, teacher had to split us up. Civil War, and she'd had enough. Cheek to cheek grinning, we said our fake goodbyes. But I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. And on Tuesdays, our play day Tuesdays, I'll say a toast to